Hi, David. How you doing? I think you've got a good start here, and it's no problem that you've chosen the same location as one of your peers. That's fine. I've got no problem with that as long as you guys are both remaining unique in your approach. I think that you have some really good considerations here. You're talking a lot about the actual proximity and the availability of different skiing resorts, and that's great. But don't forget, skiing is just one very minor part of the Winter Olympics. So there's so many other venues and locations that would have to be taken into consideration. A lot of them are outdoor too. A lot of indoor and outdoor speed skating, figure skating, basketball is a winter sport. I think yeah, basketball is a winter Olympic sport, and just all sorts of things that you will have to take into consideration. So I just want to mention, I'm sure you know this, but skiing is just by far just a very minor consideration. This is good to talk about. And I just want to talk about this real quick. You jump from the skiing to the airport. So what you want to do is you want to kind of isolate when in your final version. Nothing to do this week after this. I don't want to make any more work for you, but in your final version, you want to isolate these by paragraph. So one topic per paragraph, so that we can really ensure that we have some very complete developments here. Then you jump into the Viking tradition, and I think that's going to end up being something that's going to really assist you in your visual approach. Is the cultural heritage based on the indigenous peoples of said location. So that's something that I think could come into play. At the same breath, I want to mention here, try not to be too predictable. I've had many students use Reykjavik in the past, and a lot of them are just straight up looking like some of the Viking visuals that would be just super predictable in a project like this. So try to stay away from that. Stakeholder groups, this is good. This is very good. And talk about each one of these in your final, and what are they looking for? So in other words, what is the Icelandic Tourist Board looking for in a event of this magnitude? Environmental agency, that's great too. And I'm going to give you my hit list. I've been talking about everybody here, just kind of get you guys all on the common ground here as exactly what we're looking for and some of the things that you should consider in your final presentation. Okay, Icelandic police. So a lot of these things you're just kind of mentioning in bullet, but I want you to expound on these, and I'll get to that in 1 second. Client goals and objectives. Highlight the heritage of Iceland, definitely. Promote safe, exciting, yes. Products and services, levels of communication. And you know what? I think that you're kind of bullet pointing on a lot of these, whereas in your final presentation, I would like you to expound on these. Okay, don't don't just say, oh, okay, major issue, lack of hotel rooms. Give us some written text here. Tell us how many hotel rooms there are, and tell us how many are needed. Think about bread and breakfast. Think about neighboring cities that would help assist the population that's going to temporarily converge on this location. So it doesn't have to be just isolated to the number of hotel rooms specific to Reykjavik proper. How many cities are within I think we decided before, I think 100-mile radius would be a good, so that's basically a 2-hour drive or a train ride to the location. And I don't think that's too much out of control. I mean, I think if a lot of people are going to the Olympics, that if they can't afford to stay close to the city, I think a 2-hour train or tram or train ride or bus ride would be perfectly acceptable. Okay, interference. We talked about that. A lack of support from the population. Why? Why does why would the local population lack support for an event of this magnitude? And the reasons quite often are economic, and quite often there's a lot of people that don't want that kind of traffic through their own city. So those are definitely viable considerations. But again, let's get into some detail here. Thematic elements. Yeah, okay, this is great. We talked about this. I think, and again, I just want to really reiterate to try not to get too predictable here, because it's not going to work. It really won't. If you show your viewer something that's going to be predictable, like a Viking ship, it's not going to work. I want to show you something really quick. Let me see where. Hang on 1 sec. I just wanted to show you this. This was a logo that was based on one of those Viking ships. Now, notice that it's not pictorial. It's somewhat abstract. Nonetheless, it is a visual representation of one of those Viking ships. I don't know where it is there it is right there. One of these And that's how that came about to be the logo. So I thought that was really super fascinating. But it's not, taking the predictable route of saying, okay, that's a Viking ship. Do you see what I'm saying? I hope that makes sense. Let me know if it does, and I'll try to clarify. Let me get rid of that. Okay. Then you do something here that I think this is a mistake. Talking about fonts that you're going to use, Ruin-like for the titles, and that's a mistake. Don't even get into that right now, because I'm going to tell you something. You're going to find a lot more in your final presentation. Don't lock yourself into any font choices or any categories or color choices. Don't do that yet, because I think it's a mistake. You still have a lot of research to do. A lot of visual solutions are going to surface through that research. So keep that in mind. Okay, just want to go through my, oh, by the way, low res image right there. Good, visual studies, that's great, I get it. Hey, that's that ship. That's that same ship we just looked at. How cool, or a variation of. Okay, so anyways, so I just want to talk a little bit about my hit list, as I'm calling it. And a couple of things I want you to think about is talk about the weather. Will it accommodate? Is it too cold? Is it too warm? Is it good for slush? Can they make fake snow if they need to, et cetera, et cetera? Talk about the altitude. Is it too high? Is it too low, et cetera? Venues for sporting events and ceremonies. Does the location have enough venues? And if so, will they need to be built? And if so, where, and is there enough geographic area available to build said venues? Or if there are any pre-existing venues, like I think Reykjavik definitely held world championships for downhill skiing, for figure skating, I think, and a couple others. But so check that to see if there's any available venues that can be kind of retrofitted or kind of modernized to accommodate a more modern event. Hotel rooms, talked about that. Need numbers on that. Try to figure out how many hotel rooms are available and how many are needed. Sometimes you can find that information through IOC, International Olympic Committee. And go ahead and make sure that you take a look at the announcements area, because I left a bunch of stuff there for you guys. I'll just jump over there quick. Like in the announcements, remember, you just jump down there, hit announcements, and you can see what I've left. I've actually left an example of a final project for a previous class, and there's my academic honesty disclaimer right there. So make sure you read that, and then go ahead and take a look at that. And then also considerations for hosting a Winter Olympics. So here's some things that really can be taken into consideration. And I've also taken the liberty of leaving you guys a bunch of resources here that you can feel free to use those at your leisure. And these will all branch off into further research too. So that's a cool thing there as well. Okay, so further on is leisure activities for participants when not competing. So what are the athletes going to do? Do they have a nightlife? Will they have a nightlife? Not only the athletes, but the guests as well. Don't forget, there's going to be athletes, families, spectators, politicians, media. So all these people need to eat, breathe, and sleep. So think about that. Talk about the pollution, a number of available restaurants. Can that accommodate the number, the magnitude, an event of this magnitude? And when I say the number of restaurants, I'm not just talking about Reykjavik. Don't forget, I'm talking about surrounding areas within, let's say, a 60-mile or a 100-mile radius, let's say, or whatever you think is appropriate. And then we goes to from restaurants to nightlife to theater to movie theaters, etc. for a nightlife. So that goes hand in hand with public safety. So is the public safety infrastructure able to handle this kind of convergence on a city like this? So I know that was a big issue in Rio. So you might want to brush up and read about the public safety issues and concerns in Rio for that Olympics. Rich cultural heritage in terms of finding a visual solution. We talked about that. Environmental sustainability. What kind of carbon footprint is this event going to leave on a location? And will that affect the decision? And will that interfere with the local population and their acceptance or rejection of said event? Social culture, social issues and equality. Environmental sustainability, political climate. Is this area prone to terror attacks? Is this area prone to any sort of military escalation? And talk about that. Medical accommodations. Are there enough hospital rooms? Are there enough clinics? Are there enough emergency clinics, et cetera, to handle a temporary population of quite possibly several million people? Is the area prone to natural disasters? Okay, and those are just some of the things I really want you to expound on. And again, you don't have to submit anything this week. You have a great start here. I just want you to kind of brush up here and tie up the loose ends and really give us some good solid research in your final presentation, which is due next week. All right, fantastic job. Any questions at all, please give me a holler. Thank you.